So why do you think there's such a presence right now on the internet and such a space for people like Andrew Tate and like
because it's because we've been fed. And listen, before I say this, I dropped out of junior college. All right, I weld and tell dick jokes for a living. I don't think I'm anybody to talk about the climate of our social society or whatever. But for the last,
well, aren't you? Well, think about you. You're somebody you work a blue collar job.
Yeah.
And on the side you do leather work.
Yeah.
In your fucking camper. And I gotta say, man, the pieces you've shown me, that belt that you're working on, and the wallet you made is fucking like I'd buy that.
Oh, thanks, man.
It's dope. Like, like not like gassing you up or anything. Like it's dope.
Oh,
like, legitimately good like leather work. Now, granted, it's also coming from somebody who has a Batman wallet. So what are you gonna do?
I'll make you a Batman wallet. I don't give a fuck, dude.
My point is though, is like that is a good cross section of America. You're a blue collar worker.
Yeah.
You're in your late 20s, and you have a passion you're going for.
Sure. So here's the thing. Like, are you asking like why that alpha male culture is so popular right now?
Like, why is it so popular? Well, we could start like big and work our way in. Start with like, why does it exist in the first place? Why does it have the following that it has, and does it and should it be here?
Listen, I'm gonna break this down for you. Okay, the reason our fathers and grandfathers were so tough is because they all had PTSD from war. Okay, our grandfathers fought in Vietnam and their fathers fought in World War II. And when they came back home, they went from killing motherfuckers every day for 5 years and fighting for something and a cause to mowing their lawns once a week and having beers at the Moose Lodge. Okay, and they made them into these stoic figures who can't talk to their wife about, about the Battle of the Bulge or about watching their best friends from childhood die in a parachuting accident or something like that. And then our grandfathers went to Vietnam. These dudes that just wanted to work, just wanted to fucking get this fly out of here. Just wanted to work, just wanted to do this. And then they got shipped overseas to do terrible things to people who, I'm not a political analyst. I don't know anything like this, but
Vietnam was an L.
Yeah, sure. Vietnam was an L. We withdrew. It was the first time we ever withdrew from something like that, And then we came back to this culture of like, don't talk about it, right? So these men they were just like us, but they couldn't talk about it. Right, there wasn't a space for them to talk about their PTSD and their, trauma and shit and the stuff they saw. Right, you went from being a farm kid who's trying to ask Susie May out to the sock hop to running a fucking BAR on Normandy. You know what I mean? You went from this kid who's over here like, I'm coming, Mom. I'm just milking the cows before church to fucking like, do. You just killing fucking Nazis, And that changes a man. It really does, right? So, and then they raised our grandfathers, who didn't get hugged, didn't get anything like that, right? Then they raised our grandfathers raised our fathers, who didn't get hugged or anything like that, and our fathers raised us, and us as men, like, my dad tells me he loves me all the time, right? But I also shook my dad's hand the other day, and he told me I have soft hands, which is the craziest. Like, Phil, like, fucking, it's just. Mm-hmm. My dad was like, your hands are getting soft. You need to go back to work. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, so for people on Spotify, I just shook a real man's hand. And before I came to this podcast today, I put beard balm in my beard.
Nice.
So, you know, that this is the cross-section of America that's having a conversation.
So,
right, raised by a woman, has a father.
So here, I can tell. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well,
a sick Spider-Man tattoo, dude.
Yeah, there we go. There it is. I was waiting for it. There it is.
No, but it's one of those things of like, we grew up. And then we got lucky enough to be raised in a culture where it's okay to talk about being sad and having trauma and all this shit. And that's fine. I think that's a very necessary thing.
Is it though?
Listen, don't complain about it.
Here's why I ask though. Here's why I ask. Should you keep 110% of your stuff bottled up? No, not at all.
No.
Like that's how you get, again, you were talking about a little bit earlier, emotional outbursts.
Right.
That's how you get people that are school shooters, mass shooters,
100%.
rapists. Yeah. That's how you get that, right? And there's a lot of other factors in that, but I think that's a key one, right?
Yeah. I think it's good that we went from a culture of where you can't talk to anybody about it. Our dads, our grandfathers couldn't talk to anybody about anything. Yeah. About war, about their wives, about anything like that. So it came out in other ways, right? It came out in drinking, came out in beating their kids, beating their wives, came out in this reckless behavior. And now, listen, I don't think everybody, like, I don't talk about my feelings a lot. I like to, because A, I don't want to put that on anybody else, but B, it's like, I think you should handle your own shit, but also if you need help, there are now resources for men to reach out, which is great, which I think that's awesome. That's good that we have those assets and stuff like that, but there's like a psychological study that's like the more you talk about your problems, the bigger they get. Which is because if you keep bringing up that old trauma, you keep reliving it.
Well, and there's also that thing where if you can think yourself into being sick.
Sure. Yeah.
You can literally think yourself into being, which is a crazy thing, like the power of the brain.
It's insane.
But then the reason I asked this question, though, was like, you're right. It's good that we live in a culture now where there's like professional ways to work out your shit, right?
Right.
On the other hand, it's all, and I get it. There's that saying where it's the worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you.
Yeah.
And I think there is a place for that. But on the other hand, I think there's too much of talking about it and not enough of like, okay, yes, what happened to you was tough, man. You gotta fucking get over it.
But here's the thing: is like you can now not only talk about it, but now they can give you resources too. Like, hey, man, listen, you're going through some shit. You need to go work out. You need to go for a walk. You need to go do some other shit, right? To where, as a dude, you know, the shit that I've gone through, the shit that my buddies have gone through, where you're like, yeah, let's talk about it. All right, cool. You feel better about it? Cool. Let's go shoot our bows. Let's go work out. Let's go do something, right? And now we live in a society where I'm not ostracized because I talked about my depression, or I'm not ostracized or called a pussy or something like that for talking about a very real human thing. But also, I do believe in people feeling sorry for themselves. I do believe in people like, you know, like I'll listen to a buddy for, you know, 2 or 3 times talking about the same shit. But after the third time, I'm like, all right, bro, listen,
what are you doing about it?
Yeah, what are you doing about it?
Yep.
You know? So that's good that we have that resource. But also, I think this whole quote unquote alpha male, you know, culture thing comes from, it's like everything's like a balance, right? So everybody was talking about extreme femininity. Now there's going to be extreme masculinity, right? So for every super woke feminist out there's going to be a super toxic male, because I do believe there is a such thing as toxic masculinity, and it's not just being a man. I mean, being a man's cool, that's fine, you know, it is what you are, be you, right? But that dude that like that toxic masculinity shit of like, oh, you write poetry, what a fucking bitch, you know what I mean? Like that's, I mean, I'm like, all right, dude, the fuck are you talking about? You know, what do you do that's interesting, or besides work out and fucking bet on sports? You know what I'm talking about? I'm like, you're a cog in the machine, dude. You don't add to anything, you know? And it's
every one of those guys thinks they're Pat McAfee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. Every finance bro thinks they have the fucking market cracked. Oh, I know exactly what it does. I got it by the balls, bitch. No, you fucking don't. You know what I mean? Like it. You know, there's, you know, it's a spectrum of doing just the right amount and doing way too much. You know what I mean? Like, dude, I hunt, I fish, I shoot archery, I shoot guns, I do leather work, all this stuff, like all these stuff that are considered super masculine and super, you know, like manly things. But also, dude, I like poetry. I think poetry is really cool, you know, or I like movies, and not just like Kill Bill, but also like these, you know, like cinema or whatever you would want to call it. Like there's ways to be super manly without being a fucking douchebag about it, right? If I bump into somebody, I'm going to give them the respect of being like, hey, man, I'm sorry. That was an accident, you know? I'm not going to start a fight in a bar because I spilt a drink on somebody, you know? Like the other day, I was in a bar, and I spilled a drink on a dude. And I was like, I am so sorry. Excuse me. That's my bad. Let me buy you another drink or whatever, right? Like, because there is a baseline level of respect you should give to everybody. And then these fucking these like fucking like, I'm an alpha male, like all this shit. Like,
you have to earn my respect.
Yeah.
Like, no,
I'm like,
dude.
bro, if I have to earn your respect, I don't want that shit. Get the fuck away from me. You know? It's like, and it, you know, a lot of that stuff comes from like working in trades. Like, there's a baseline level of respect you give to another tradesman and another man, like doing this like extremely hard work. And there's, you know, and so when I meet somebody who's like, nah, bro, you got to earn my respect, I'm like, then your respect's not fucking worth shit to me.
And that, I got to be honest with you, man, and people listen to this that have been in the military or currently in right now, this can piss a lot of them off. But that's a big reason why I got out.
Sure.
That is a huge reason why, because it's like, and I get it, like I try to see things from the other perspective, right? And I don't see anything wrong with some, you know, like, oh, you're the new guy.
Yeah.
All right. You know, a little fuck games. Like, that's fine. But then when it gets to the point where it's like, yo, I thought we signed up for the same team here.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, like, I get it.
Right.
I get it, man. You're in the fucking first surge. I get it. You've actually seen combat. I get it. My first contract was infantry in the National Guard.
Sure.
I became a professional janitor. I get it.
Yeah.
But on the other hand,
right,
let's be liberal with it and say for the 25 days out of the month where you don't have a fucking E6 rank on you, an E7 rank on you, and you're just a dude. Aren't we just dudes?
Exactly.
Like what are we doing here?
There's a weird toxicity about the military in general, about like a very us versus them mentality, right?
Experience versus non-experience.
Experience versus non-experience. MOSs and ratings over, other MOS. Like I was a fucking MP. I was the most hated job in the military, right? But also it's like, it makes you think about it in a different aspect. I'm like, oh, cool. Without MPs, anybody can get on base. Fucking sexual assault and all that stuff can go rampant, right? Shootings and things like that, like, couldn't happen more. You know what I mean? Like, if you're an infantry guy on Bragg, you're not walking around with your M4. You like, it's so if an active shooter comes on, the infantry dudes, no, it's the fucking the MP that you've been calling a fucking Blue Falcon for 6 months is the guy that's going to take a bullet for you, and then like, when I first got in, it was I had a senior chief in A school who really kind of, he just gave us one fucking speech and all that shit got out of me. All that shit of like, oh, fuck these dudes. Oh, I'm better than them, right? We were standing there at the end of the day waiting to get dismissed, and we're all in formation, and one class is coming back and they're marching to cadence. And there's like the one cadence like, I don't want to be a Marine. They don't even look me. And like they're like talking shit about all these other branches. And this fucking, this E8 dude that's salty as shit, was in Iraq and Afghanistan, fucking, I think, he did like coastal riverine shit, salty motherfucker, was like, with every line in the cadence, he's getting madder and madder, talking about the fucking, he's like, and they're like, we don't want to be a Marine, they don't even look mean. And then he's like, yeah, tell that to a Marine that's been in the field for 3 weeks. And then you're talking about the Coast Guard, about how they're like puddle pirates. Be like, oh yeah, tell that to a drug interdiction agent who also found, people getting smuggled into the U.S. Or, the Air Force. Oh yeah, well, whenever you're fucking pinned down and you need some air support, don't call them because they're fucking pussies, right? They're the chair force, And then like, in the Navy, be like, oh yeah, well, okay, with the guys on Guadalcanal, the guys on Iwo Jima, oh, well, they're gay, right? You don't want their fucking, you don't want their artillery from their fucking ships, right? You don't want that.
Fucking gay.
Yeah, right. So, like, that's the thing, dude. Is like, there's a saying like, bullets don't fly without supply. That's probably one of the realest sayings in the military, right? Like, you might give the fucking logistics dude shit because he's not carrying an M4 and kicking in doors, but without him, you don't have an M4, and I don't want to kick in a door without one, right? Without your fucking, without your fuel guys, your Humvees aren't going anywhere. Now your convoy's a sitting fucking target. The military and everybody in it, when you learn that they're all cogs in a greater machine, and you can put all that shit aside, it's cool, because then you don't have to worry about it anymore, right?
See, and everything you just said is what, like, that type of mindset is what made me want to sign up in the first place.
Exactly, right?
And then the political nonsense and the good old boy systems, and not to reduce it, but the human issues, the very common human issues that just fucking like got its way through into every little cog in that machine. It's like, wow, like, this is not what I saw. Like you talk about like bullets on $5 supply. My whole thing were the fucking cooks. I remember my very first AT, we went out. We were out in like 20. It was either 20 miles south or 20 miles north of Death Valley in California.
Yeah, horrible.
In the middle of June, it was bad.
Yeah,
not fun. And I remember there was like we were out for this. We were supposed to rotate in and out of the field every 5 days, like get new uniforms, that type of shit.
Sure.
They fucked up our rotation. We were in that bitch for, I think, like 12 days, something like that. I'm like, okay, whatever, this sucks. But in that 12-day stretch, there were like 5 or 6 days, it was like just MREs.
Yeah.
And we're like, you know what? I haven't shit. So, oh well. You know what I mean? This is not fun.
Right.
And then on that like 7th day, we finally saw a bunch of trucks coming, and like, those might be the cooks.
Yeah.
And they dropped off like hot fucking meals. We're like, yes. Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Real food.
Dude, a fucking...
Oh, thank God for the cooks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You know, that's another thing about like the trades. Like the trades are a lot like that, right? Like as a welder, you know, there's welders and pipe fitters, you know, we we're the gods of the trades. You know what I mean? We're, you know, but one of my foremans, he told me this one time, and I was like, and it's a lot like that military aspect of like, oh, we're better than electricians, or we're better than this or that, or plumbers, or whatever. The guy's like, listen, my foreman was like, listen, man, I'm a welder, but I love taking a shit in a building that's well lit and has AC, you know, and that's just kind of how you gotta like look at it too, of like, you know, and this is so obvious, but it's like, yeah, like none of us are better than any of us, you know, like all trades are hard in their own aspect. All, you know, jobs in the military are hard in their own aspect, and you just got to get over yourself. And I think that's the thing about like the alpha male culture is like, hey, dude, you work in finance, you don't have to overcompensate for being a dick, you know. You don't have to be this dude who's like, you know, starting fights in traffic or calling another dude a bitch because he just like didn't want to fight you.
It's like, who's that? He's gotten, at least he's fucking flooded into my algorithm. I think he's a finance guy or like an insurance guy, bald guy, super tight fucking.
Yeah. The dude that he's like, take off your shirt.
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That dude's a fucking psychopath.
Yeah.
And that guy's a salesman. Mm-hmm. That dude's a fucking salesman, and
Sales,
he teaches.
That's what it is.
Listen, dude, if you're gonna be over here in short shorts, like ball hugging shorts, with a Gucci belt and a tight black shirt, I'm not gonna talk to you. We're not the same type of fucking human being, dude. Okay, you're a douche. I think it's so funny when dudes are like, I'm not gonna lie, dude. I woke up 3 hours ago. Because I worked 16 hours yesterday.
I'm not gonna lie, because you had messaged me back at like 3 a.m. when I was about to pass out.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I hope that dude didn't die coming back home from work.
Bro, I worked 8 hours welding, and then I came home, ate, let my dog out, walked him, and then went back to work doing like this security job for another 8 hours. Could I have gotten a workout in? Sure. I could have gone and done a 30-minute workout real quick or whatever, but I had other shit to do, right? These motherfuckers who were like, there's no reason you shouldn't have a fucking six-pack, okay? Everybody at my company has a six-pack, okay? And that makes us better salesmen. That is the craziest shit I've ever fucking heard. That is the most toxic, fucking douchiest thing. Hey, bro, listen, if you can't grow a full head of hair, you can't talk to me like that. Brother, listen, if you got the big alopecia on top, we can't talk, dude. If you don't have a comb in your house, brother, we can't do this, dude. What are you doing, bro? What are you doing, dude?